Hey guys, welcome to what will probably be my last video of 2020. Possibly, I might possibly do one more video tomorrow, but I figured I'd give you guys a look at what I've done this year and talk a little bit about what's gone on in my life this year. 2020 has been an interesting year for all of us, to say the least, with COVID-19, the lockdowns, things going on, presidential election, the disputes over the presidential election. 2020 has been a very interesting and a very hard year on all of us. Few things have changed for me. In June, I switched jobs. Still working at Scott Air Force Base, but I'm working in a different job, and moved the stash twice, moved the hobby area, my shop twice. Once from the garage when it got cold last winter, I moved it up into what is our front room and is becoming my display room for models. And then the second time when my grandson moved out, this space became available and I took it over with my wife's approval. Stash moved from the top of the cabinets out in the garage, moved it upstairs, or moved it first into the same front room where I was. Basically, we have French doors on that room and a opening that you could put French doors into. Walled off the opening and put all the models in there. And then after that, when I moved back here, I moved them up to a spare bedroom upstairs. That's one of the shots you see in my intro cards. That is what my new storage area looks like. Been a great year for me in some aspects. Like I said, got a new job. Since December, let me look at the app real quick. Since December 26th of last year, from then till today, on December 26th, I weighed 286 pounds, or 283 pounds, sorry. And as of today, I weigh 231 pounds. I've lost 52 pounds in the last year. Was a struggle, and I'll tell you right now, looking back at it, looking at the trends on the app, wasn't, first month wasn't bad, but I then stagnated until about April. In April, I just started dropping and dropping and dropping and dropping until back in October. On October 31st, I was down to 234, which was fantastic for me. And then I had a fat November, gained 3 pounds, but I'm back down to below that. My current goal weight, I want to get to 230. Once I hit 230, it'll down to 220, down to 210. Eventually, I want to get down to about 190, 180. I'll never make my ideal weight, which is kind of funny, kind of humorous. My ideal weight is supposed to be around 150, 160. There is no way I'll ever make that weight. But it's been an interesting journey losing weight. And all I did, it's funny because I haven't changed my lifestyle a whole lot. I don't exercise anymore, unless you want to count going up and down the stairs more often, since I now work from home, and anytime I need to talk to my wife, I go up the stairs. So I hit our stairs probably 8 to 10 times a day. Other than that, water, baby. Lots and lots of water. When it started getting warm last year, I started drinking a lot of water, and that's when I started dropping the weight. Love ice water. So that's in a nutshell what has gone on in my personal life. Nothing major. Been just hanging out in the house for, what is it, 8 months now, 9 months now. March 18th, I left the office. Been back to the old job 3 times in the old office. Been to the new job in the office twice. Work from home on a laptop. Got a pretty good setup here. My office is right here to my right. And then the rest of this room is my shop. So, as you can see from the title card, that table behind me has all my builds from this year. Not all. There's a couple. There's one that's not on there. I built a box to help dry paint, but that's all my model builds to include. And some of you may say it's not actually a model. I built a Lego Titanic. Got it for Christmas. Built it. Took about 12 hours. Love it. It's as accurate as you can make it with Legos. So let me start the parade of models, and what I'll do is as I show them, I'm going to show them probably top down, may use my droid cam to show some close-ups. I'll explain what the model is, why I built it, because most of these were built for, or a bunch of these were built for group builds for HobbyLink International, which if you are a model, please go over to the site, join us. It is a great group of guys run by Kenny Conklin. Kenny, can't say enough about Kenny. Kenny's had a rough year this year too. Bought a house in June and he's been doing renovations on it since then. Man has lost his bench, hasn't been able to build in over a year, and we're hoping that he'll get back to work sometime around 2020. A bunch of us have been filling in on the streams and the videos because he is basically our leader in this crew of what we call ourselves as space pirates building models. So give me a second, I'll start bringing models over, and I'll try to get them in chronological order of when I built them. Some of them may not be, and many of them were not started this year. Well, not many, actually. A few of them were not started this year. So let me pause this and I will be right back. Okay, so what you see here is the 196 Eagle 1. I believe it's from Mobius Models. May have been, actually it's an AMT. It's an older kit. Came out, I want to say, originally in the 70s. Good little kit, fun little kit to put together. It's in a little bit rough shape because as I was taking it down today, it snapped in two and then pieces flew everywhere. I was able to find everything. I've glued it back together. It was a fun kit to build, but and it was one of these, I've had it in my stash for years. I just decided it was time to build something like this. I will tell you right now, good kit to build, decals are terrible. You put them in water, they disintegrate pretty badly. That's why most of the spots, like up here in the front, these windows are supposed to be decaled. They're not. There's supposed to be a decal on the bottom of the foot pads. That disintegrated. It's supposed to be decals rather than paint in the windows. The only decals I was able to get are the ones on the side of the landing pods and the ones, these two on the bottom. Or actually that's 4 decals there on the bottom. The rest of them just disintegrated to the point where I gave up. Still not a bad little kit. It's going to go on a shelf. It'll sit there forever. One of these days I've got the 1/72, which is about 14 inches, and I've also got the 1/48, which is 72 inches. I'll build them, and I actually have the cargo version of the 1/48. Don't yet have the pod, or the Science Pod one. Eventually might get it, but grew up with Space 1999. I was a kid when it came out. Always loved this kit. I think I might have built this as a kid. I don't know for sure. And this was just on a whim. Decided I wanted to build it. So let me set this over. Next kit I built this year was part of the HLI Be a Kid build, HobbyLink International. And during the Be a Kid build, it was the rules were not specific that you had to, but the general gist of it was build a kit like you did when you were a kid. And I remember having this kit when I was about 6 years old, 6 or 7 years old. This is one of the first kits I ever built. I want to say, actually I had to be about 8 or 10, because I built this from the 73 version of the kit, which this is the 73 version, and it is complete. And you can see some of the spots where the sprue marks. I mean, this is sanded as flat as you can get it. And you can see really bad where the sprue connection was because of the glow in the dark plastic. I love this thing. Love to play with the little shuttle. You know, it was like I said, one of the first kits I ever did, and I loved it. No paint on it. I have a couple of other versions of it. I'm going to eventually build it again, but this time I'm going to use the fiber optics and everything. But for the Be a Kid build, I literally built it the way I built it as a kid, and I played with this thing forever. I don't know how long I had it, but it was one of my favorite toys. Interesting note is this was actually designed by the same designer of the Enterprise on Star Trek, the original series. So I thought that was kind of cool. Little shuttle goes down inside here. Doors close. Little not bad stand. Pretty much nothing to it. Eventually I will probably take this back off the shelf and give it a good paint coat of actual glow-in-the-dark paint, because the glow-in-the-dark after 50 years has worn out. I can shine a LED flashlight on it, a ultraviolet LED flashlight on it, and you'll see the green glow, but that's it. It doesn't actually, the glow doesn't stay there. As a matter of fact, give me just a second and I will get a flashlight and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so here is a ultraviolet flashlight. I mean, you can see how bad it's blowing that out. But you can also see, it's like a black light. You can't see it, but this is actually blue to me. Now if I shine it on here, it's lit up. For me, it's a really nice glow-in-the-dark green. For you, if I'm looking at it, it looks like it's just blown out. But usually when you have glow-in-the-dark stuff, when you shine, especially when you shine ultraviolet on it, ultraviolet usually will make it glow for a while, when you charge it up. But here's the thing about this, after it's charged up and it should glow, you might be able to see it. I will see a second or two of glow and it'll just shut down. Try that again. Light is on it, and you should have seen a very faint green glow that just disappeared after about a second. That's why I'm going to repaint it with glow-in-the-dark paint so it actually gets its glow back the way it's supposed to. The next build after the UFO spaceship was my Batmobile from the original. Yeah, I think it was the 79 series of the Batman. Thing about it was a part of the sci-fi, or not sci-fi NSC, part of the HLI Batman group build. Was the first one that I built. Again, had it in my stash for a while. The canopy should come open. There's no Batman figure inside. Nice little model kit. Good little model kit. Several of us have built ones like this year. I've lit it. Oh, there's the engine. This is one of the older ones. It's been re-released where the engine's removable. This one is one of the vintage ones. I want to say the kit was like from 1990. So let me make sure my little box is plugged in. And what I have here, folks, is a project box. This actually sits in my shelf. Those 5 separate switches, when I turn it turns on models. So, like I said, did a little bit of lighting. You can see inside the engine bay, got some blue lights in there. I'm very proud of the way those headlights came out. They look, in person, they look real. Okay, just checking. This one is so clear with the lens. The lens is so clear that I couldn't actually see the lens. And then tail lights. It's okay. There's a little bit of a flicker. Got the tail lights. I've got 4 or 5 LEDs in there. One of them is a flashing LED, so that in person from the side, when it's, let me see, me get a. You can see how the engine light is flickering a little bit. It's kind of my version of afterburner that I could do on something this small. There are, because of the engines and the tail lights, there are some light leaks inside of it, but I think they're actually they look kind of good. Good little kit, was a lot of fun to build, and it was the first one I put into the HLI Batman build. So let me take this one off and get another one. Okay guys, so the next model I built this year, and this was part of the Batman build as well, was the Batwing. If I remember right, the canopy does open. And you can actually see Batman in there. Painting those eyes was really difficult. And Boyd over on TrekWorks actually did something that I didn't think about. And this one, I don't know why this one's pointing up. But these missiles are much too long. It should just be the very tip, like the fins and the tip sticking out. Boyd also did the guns. I did basic lighting and meant to show it on the Batmobile. I'll show it here because I've had people ask me how I get power into my models, because I don't always use the RCA type jack. What that is that's two Arduino type connectors, breadboard connectors, that are glued to the side of the model, and the wires go inside. If I remember right, I was going to say red on the right. Yeah, this is red or positive on the right, negative on the left. And then I put the female on the model, the male on the power cord. Just solder it on, heat shrink it, and that way it's very inobtrusive, because you've just got a wire back here. I can use the original stand. If I decide I'm going to put it somewhere and not have it lit, these, when they pull out, basically your power jack seems to disappear. So let me plug it in. And again, you can see in there, blue light down inside the cockpit. This cockpit is a pain to close a little bit. You can see those lights are not quite as bright as the camera makes them, but they shine really well. And then I've got underneath the landing lights. This shows up really well in darker light. I like the way at least in the camera, it's appearing purple off Batman. It is actually just a blue light, but I think it looks pretty good that way. So let me take this one off and we'll bring up another one. So the next build for this year was again a Batman build. It was the Batman figure. I had high hopes of doing Batman, Robin, Catwoman. Did really good. This is the first figure I've ever done. I feel like I did a pretty bang up job on it. Batman is not actually glued to the base. He's just kind of tacked down, because eventually what I'm going to do once I have all the figures built is I'm going to put the rocks together and spray them as a unit, and then I'll glue everybody down. Then there's the sign that stands out in front. I mean, some people agree with me, some people disagree with me. I think I did a really good job on the color of the cape. And I'm really impressed with how I got those ears blended into the cowl, because those ears are actually separate from the cowl. They were separate parts. And if you hear, when I painted the body, oh wow. I just noticed that. I'm going to have to get a new Batman decal, because something has happened to that one. It was perfect before. I don't know when that happened or what happened to it. But the rattling inside here is actually a mini clamp. When I used to paint him, I kind of stuck it in the neck and it got stuck, and then it ended up going inside the body. It wouldn't fit out the leg holes, so he's got a rattle inside. So let me go get the next one. Okay, so the next kit I built was for the Halloween, HLI Halloween group build. I started it in May, kind of with jokingly saying, is May too early to start a Halloween group build? And actually it wasn't, because it got kind of pushed off to the side and I was doing other things. But it came out really well. It's a pretty good little kit. I think it's Lindbergh. If you see the skeleton's head shakes a little bit, the hands are actually supposed to be on the wheel. And if you turn the wheel a certain amount, let's see, it's been a long time since I've done this. Whoops, I just had a part fall off. I got to re-glue it. It's not popping up. What's supposed to happen is when you turn the wheel a specific amount, actually it's not when you turn the wheel. The wheel can turn, that's what it was. Let me reset it. So when you push this and the rubber band is wearing out, it's supposed to pop up. He comes up and he literally stabs into the map on X marks the spot. I love the way that decal laid down. I used Walther's Solva-Set on there, and I was able to put the decal down exactly where the relief is on top of the box, so the decal is, the relief matches the decal. Pretty nice little kit, kind of fun little kit. Took longer than it should have, just because I got busy doing other things. And like I said, for right now, I'm just going to throw that hand back in there with him. And another one. I'm gonna have to glue those back on with super glue rather than the styrene glue, because it's not holding up very well. Alright, so the next kit I built was actually just a snap kit, snap tight. Didn't do anything special to it. It had decals, but the rest of it was snap tight. I glued it. I didn't think it needed anything more. Some of the snap fit kits these days are pretty good on their own. I know a lot of people that do them will actually then will paint them as well. I didn't see any need. I think it came out really well. Thought about throwing some lights in it. Not really, actually, because it's just a snap tight kit. But you can see the decals. Even the decals on it were pretty extensive. The decal on the Ford logo. These are lights are decals. The lights on here have decals. The Ford back here. Not a bad little kit. Just a little, it was something that I threw together upstairs on my other computer while I was working, or while I was watching YouTube videos at night. Nice little kit. Something to put on the shelf. So the next four, I actually did one right after the other. They kind of tie in together. What I have is all four of the Bandai Star Trek models. Got the NX-01, the Refit Enterprise, the Enterprise E, and let me push these two up a little bit. I can't even get it in the shot. And the Voyager. So I'm going to switch cameras and we're going to take a look at each one in sequence. This is one of the only things I don't like is that the stickers here, where they did the pylons or the nacelles. The pylons for the nacelles, the wiring inside there. So let me switch cameras real quick. If I can make sure this one is still on. Okay, yeah. Whoops. And it was on, but it was upside down. So that's the NX-01. And man, it's out of focus. That's better, a little bit better. But each of them has, they're pre-decaled. It's actually pre-painted, it's not decals. And they all have lights. Although, thought I saw. Batteries might be dead in this one. I saw a slight glow. That's one of the other problems with these, is that the power connector is a little bit weird. Matter of fact, let me set it down here and maybe I can actually get the power connector. Well, so there's the power connector right there. And it's a little bit weird. There's 2 pins on here that kind of sit on there. Let me see if I can put this back on and actually maybe get it to light up. There we go. The power connector was just a little bit loose. Oh. So you can see there, the planetary sensor is lit. Got the planetary sensor lit. There's actually supposed to be a piece right in here holding this back. It falls out all the time. And that shows green on the camera, but it's actually it's more of it is a teal, like it looks. And actually really good looking little model. They are well built, but they are a pain to get to fit together, and the lighting is not as good as you'd like all the way through. I have seen people take these and I've seen people repaint them and redo the lights completely. For what I wanted, I think this is just fine. So let me move this one out of the way and grab the refit. That one came on right away. I've got the light off so you can see that the lights actually do work. And unfortunately, that is a white light rather than a blue clear. It should have been blue, but not much I can do about that. Really nice detail on the ship. Pretty good glow on the Bussards, except for it should be purple instead of blue. Impulse engines. Turn that one off. Let me reach over here and turn off the NX01 so I don't burn out the batteries. Eventually I will take these and figure out a way to wire them to the to a wall wart. I got the Enterprise E. This one was probably the second most difficult to build. Back up a little bit. It's a nice little ship. The lights are very, very subtle on this one. You can see the light's better underneath, and again, it's a white light instead of a blue light. Might go back in there sometime and do a clear blue on the bottom. And you can see the lower impulse engines. A little bit of light on the upper impulse engines. There are actually lights in here. It's just that in the light in the room you can't really see it. Let me turn that one off. That one was more difficult than the other two. The two smaller ones were the easiest ones. The hardest one to actually get to go together was the Voyager. And you can actually see right here where I wasn't able to get it quite snapped in there. I'll have to go back sometime and fit that in there. It's just that there's so much crammed inside the body here, inside with the acrylic parts and the way what they do the wiring. Let me see if I can get, you see, I mean, I can't even push it together. I'm trying and it won't even push together. Had to do a lot of super gluing on this one. It's supposed to be a snap type, but it needed super glue. It is a nice rendition of the Voyager, and I'm actually occasionally using it for my current Voyager build because it is very, very detailed. You see, this side is actually a little bit closer together than the other side. The whole mounting piece runs back like this. It's a pretty hefty piece, and then there's acrylic all up in here. Anywhere where you see lights, the lights are probably way back here, and it just runs through the acrylic to light the whole thing. So let me pull the Voyager off, switch back to the top camera, and I will bring the next model over. So after building that last one, I don't even remember which one it was because it's been a second or two for you guys. It's been 40 minutes for me. I just ate dinner. So carrying back on, after building the last model, I think it was another one of the, no, it was the skeleton one. I finally had all the parts and was able to finish building the DeLorean. The DeLorean I worked on for about 3 years. It was supposed to be a 2-year build, but Eagle Moss is really, really bad about getting parts out. I mean, frame's a little bit dusty. It's been upstairs for about the last 6 months waiting for me to get my display room. It was a good build other than having to deal with Eagle Moss. Let me switch cameras again so I can give you a better tour of it. I can't give you as good a tour as I could if you were actually here because this thing is huge. It is as big as it looks. It's about 39 inches long. The model itself is a 1/8 scale of the DeLorean. Come on, focus. Sometimes it focuses, sometimes it won't. But it's a pretty good model. A lot of metal to it. Some parts that you'll never look at, you know, like the spare tire. Has working lights. The lights are not as good as something I would have put together for myself. There we go, that's better. And there's a lot of aftermarket for it. I didn't put very much aftermarket in it. As a matter of fact, I put no aftermarket that I had to pay for out of pocket because it would be easy to put another $1,000 into this car with the aftermarket parts that have come out. Eagle Moss did some good work with it, but there are some things they did not do very well, like the hood or the doors. When you open them, yeah, there's this little plastic block. I don't know if you saw that when I put that in there, but there's a little plastic block in there that holds the door open. Otherwise, it collapses. And you'll see the lights came on when I opened the door. You can also see, maybe, I can see it, there's a short somewhere in there. I'm not going to go through and do everything it would take to fix it. The passenger side door, the lights are always on. That's why I can't use batteries in it. I have a wall wart that actually hooks up to the models to do so that the lights don't burn through batteries like nobody's business. It's an actually pretty good representation. I don't know if it's completely canon or not. I don't care. I just like the way the car looks, and you know, nice license plate. And if I can get it, there we go. Mentioned that in my Batman video yesterday. Or not Batman, my Ecto 1 video yesterday. That is the brake lights. They actually work. Not sure if you can actually see it in there. Let me see, let me grab my phone and see if I can shine the light of the phone down inside there so that you can actually see the pedals. You can almost see, you can see the black in there. It's kind of interesting trying to do two phones at once, but like I said, there's a brake pedal in there. It works. It works the light in the back. It's pretty cool. And then on the other side over here, let's see if I can get this one open and actually set the thing in there as well. Like I said, these do not work the best, and I'm afraid to push too far and accidentally break the door. So in there, some of the aftermarket where you see the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is to replace those. There's aftermarket to replace some of the dash, some of the lighting at the top. I'm happy with it the way it is, because it's just going to sit on the shelf. It's not like I'm going to be bringing it out and showing it to everybody in the world. So let me turn on the lights. See if I can. Let's see that. Okay, the first button I push there is for the tail lights, and it should also be the headlights. Second one. Second one lights up some of the consoles inside, up on the top. Third one lights up the time circuits, including the really, really bad flux capacitor. That's the biggest complaint that everybody had about it. But the flux, between the flux capacitor and the Christmas tree, I'm not spending another, $400, or it's about $300 to get those replaced. I also wasn't going to tear the model down that far afterwards. Just pushed another one. I'm looking. I do not see. Is that the reactor? No, it's not the reactor. Oh, I think that might have been dash lights. There are that button there turned on the time circuits. Really poorly done on the way they did the side emitting fiber optic. It doesn't get hardly anywhere at all. And there's on the dash you can see the setup for 88 miles an hour. So let me go ahead and turn all these off. I think that's everything. I'm going to leave the doors open. A few little niceties that you get with it. You get the stand. Stand comes quote unquote free with the model. Come on. The stand, you also can put Mr. Fusion on the back instead. I prefer the original. I prefer it like that. These are quote unquote extra parts, but not really extra because you had to have them during the build so you could keep the car up off the floor. One of the things about the wheels too, and I'm going to see if I can do this, it's a pretty hefty model. Let's see. Is the wheels do fold down for hover mode. That's what those blocks are for, so you can put it into hover mode. They are very fragile. I haven't had them break, but I have heard about other people having them break. And then one of the last parts you got was the alarm clock from the 1800s. The actual last pieces of the build, unless you opted for the extended build, is the plutonium case. And the case is pretty well manufactured. I like the case the way it is. The plutonium is okay. But again, I'm not going to buy aftermarket parts for something that I'm just going to sit inside the car or behind the car and never open. I had thought at one point, me see if the battery's still working on this one. I was going to try and wire this into it. Decided not to. It was going to be too much of a pain. Plus trying to figure out how to get the switch in there so that it would do that. Actually, that was turning it off. Hang on. There. 2 modes that you can do. And that's just a, it's just a keychain. I also picked up another one. Either one of these is better than what Eagle Moss provided. But again, I'm not willing to pay the kind of money I would have had to pay to get the aftermarket parts. Overall, was a good build. Overall, it's a nice kit. I like it. I like the Ecto 1 that I'm working on right now a little bit better. So let me switch back to this, and this is actually the culmination of about 3 years. It should have been a 24-month build. It ended up being almost 3 years, actually probably over 3 years because of the vagaries of shipping from Eagle Moss. There was actually a point in time where nobody got anything for 6 months. Good kit, bad customer service. So let me pause again, and I will be right back with another. I forgot to mention that thing is heavy. The car itself is about 45 pounds. And then you add that stand, it's probably good 50 to 55 pounds to move that thing. So this was the next one that I finished, and this is another forever long build, but it was my own fault because I started it, got discouraged at times, stepped back from it. I started it roughly in May of 18, and I finished it, I don't know, about a month ago. Really beautiful ship. It's Ida Blue. Let me switch over to the droid cam so you can actually get a really good look at it. It was also entered into HobbyLink International Model of the Year. Unfortunately, it was the only cruise ship, so it's been carried over until next year. When I first saw this front end on the box, I was like, I have to have that. I actually picked it up right after it was released. Beautiful kit. And I'm amazed that I was able to get that decal to go on there like that. It's actually the smiles and decal, the eyeball is decal. This first decal runs back to about here, and then I want to say here, and then and then the third decal. I mean, the detail in the decals is amazing. I love this ship. I love how it went together. I had a lot of fun with it. I actually did learn some things on there. On the here on the where it says Ida, might see that it's a little bit discolored because I actually lost, or not lost. I had those decals. One of them come off, and I had to use Sharpie to fix it. That's what the decals would have looked like if I'd have used them on this side. I actually think this looks really sharp this way. Painting the rails, I replaced the insides of all the umbrellas. There's the umbrella stand is supposed to be white like that, but that's actually white styrene with fiber optic inside of it so that the umbrellas light up a little bit. I put some lighting up in here. There's lighting up in here. Just lighting all over this ship. And it's not just standard lighting because I didn't want to have just your standard white lights. I wanted it to look, and pardon for the movement of the camera there. I wanted it to look like it does in pictures when you see it on docks, because it's not just standard lit up colors. And so I had some fun with it. I put the purple lights up in there. You've got the flashing lights in there. You got flashing lights down there in the pool. Kill this light. And you can see how there's actually slow change lights for the umbrellas. All of them have the fiber optic. Not all of them work as well as they should. The court is lit up. I wanted to put lights into the screen here. Wasn't able quite able to work it out. Thought about the speakers, but I've got lights underneath. And anywhere you see light coming through the plastic, that is by design, not by accident, because the best way to light the outside of the white styrene is to light it from the back side. This ended up being a little bit brighter than I expected. The soccer court, didn't put on the flag. I didn't do any of the rigging because by the time, like I said, I worked on this for about 2 years. It was a really good build. If you're into models at all, I recommend go and get that. If you're into ship models, this is a great cruiser model. Could have built the swimming pool area with the skylights open. Disco's got several different lights going in there. It's got lights hidden back inside to light up the floors. Just overall, I had a blast with this ship. It was a great boat build. So let me switch it back to the top, let you see what it looks like that way. And unfortunately, the LEDs always blow out the camera. Turning that on helped a little bit. These aren't quite as bright as they look on camera. This is actually a nice subtle purple glow. This is not bad. This light, because it points up, blows out the camera pretty much. But this was one of the largest builds I did this year, along with the DeLorean. After that, I only have 1, 2, 3, about 5 left. So let me go ahead and pause, and we'll get on to the next one. Okay, so the next build that I finished this year was Digger. He is a kit from the 60s, a repop, and he was for the Halloween build. At one point, I thought about putting lights behind his eyes. It was just a fun kit to throw together, and some of the things, the paint on the back came out really spotty. Brand new spray can of paint. Was a little bit upset. Not too bad. Not too worried about it now. It was just another fun. It was just fun. Okay, I'm not sure how much of this last segment I just filmed I did or didn't get, because I looked at OBS and it was paused. So let me go back here. Let me flip this down to the droid cam. Hazards of doing too many things at once. So this was my second build for the HLI Halloween group build. I want to run through things in case I'm repeating myself. Up underneath the helmet there, if you can see the red, that's what happens when you use mix CA with Sharpie, green Sharpie. It turns red. Decals were pretty good. And I mentioned this twice before. I'm just not sure if you guys heard it, but that there is craft paint. I'm amazed at how that worked, and it's protected so it won't scratch off using future floor polish. So now let me flip back to the top down, and I actually earlier in this segment, whether it was on camera or not, knocked him off of here. So I'm going to pause here. I'm going to glue him back on, and then I'll come back. Okay, Digger is okay. He actually accidentally glued him to the table. And I want to see if I can get it to where you can read it. It's not going to focus. Forgot about that decal on the front. It says Jiggle Juice. What's funny is you can now see a black mark here where I glued Digger to the table. But, oh, and the tank looks a little bit spotty because, you know, I love the way the silver metallic Sharpie came out on there. Kind of makes it look like it's stainless steel. So let me take him away and we'll be back with another one. So the next three kits, and you could argue whether they're it's three kits or two, I built because somebody asked Kenny if the Batman group build, if you had to have your submissions in for the group build before the 4th of December, and Kenny said no, it's actually the 27th, and then he extended it out to the end of the month. So I was like, let me throw a couple more Batman group builds. So I built these three, and like I said, you could argue that it's two. Let me switch cameras. You could argue that it's only two because this figure and this figure were actually a kit unto themselves. So I'm calling that one Catwoman, and the Bat Pod is two, and this is number three. I've had this Bat Pod and these two Batmen for a while, and then Catwoman is resin. She came with this one. Built this one first. It was really good practice for building. Sorry guys, didn't mean to drop you. It was really good practice for building the smaller one because they're almost identical, but this one's 1/32 and this one, or 1/16, and this is 1/32, or 1/25 and 1/32, something like that. Really small parts, really fragile. She was a pain to get on there. You had to actually put the parts of the steering onto the figure and then attach it. I love the fact, if you look at that, it balances on its own on these tires. And then Batman and the smaller Bat Pod was a little bit more difficult. Easier in some aspects because there were fewer parts. Some of the parts on this one, where there would be 2 or 3 parts, they combined them into a single part on this one. And then, of course, this guy keeps showing up in a lot of my videos or in pictures on HLI. It's Tiny Batman. And someday, Tiny Batman will have his partner in crime, or the criminal he fights against. I call him right now Unpainted Bane. He comes from the Tumblr kit. And let me see, I wanted to say, yeah, I am down to 2 more kits. Neither of them are truly styrene plastic model kits. They were just fun things to do in the interim. So let me go ahead and pause here, switch cameras first. Actually, I'm going to leave it on the droid cam. I'm going to pause here, and I'll be right back. So some people might say this is not a kit per se, but it did come in pieces. The ball still comes out of here. These parts just sit on here. But the monkey and his hands, and the monkey's actually not glued. He's got a pivot point here to hold this one foot. He had to attach his hands to his arms to the body. Same with the Wicked Witch, except for her head and her hat actually comes off. They did a really good job on her. It's hard to, sorry guys, hard to hit on here to get it to focus. Hang on. Try it this way. It just keeps coming in and out. It focuses on on her face and then comes off. It's probably the best I'm going to get. They did some really good work. The cape is actually a separate piece. The hands are separate pieces. Her arms were separate. And the head. This is all resin. And, you know, it's not something I would normally buy, but the price couldn't be beat. Forgot the flying monkey has little wings, has his tail. There were separate hands, different hands, so that the witch could hold on to the broom. But I decided to glue the hands on, so the broom just kind of lays there off on the side. And just 1 second, I'll bring the last one over. Okay, so that is the last of the quote-unquote models I built this year. And well, not strictly a model, I understand it is Lego. It's not actual Lego, it's knockoff Lego. But it is actually a scale replica of something, which is what a model is. And it has a balance problem. Sorry for the flying camera, guys. It has a balance problem, and so every time I move it, it falls over and a piece falls off. The stand sucks. This stand sucks really, really bad. And it claims on the box that you can light it. There's a little light that you can put under here that'll light up the Titanic. But it's got some pretty unique pieces for Lego. This I'm going to cut after I glue the string. Might go back and actually super glue some pieces. But as a Titanic buff, my wife knew I'd love this. I do. I think it's great. I built it. And it's going to be in my display room. So with that, we're going to call this a video as far as that goes. As you can see, it has been an eventful 2020. Lots of building going on, lots of stuff going on out in the world. Grown this 3 or 4 times. Right now I'm on leave. I'm on vacation until Monday. Monday I'll be shaving, going back to work. Right over there. And eventually, last rumor I heard was June I should be back in the office. So, might do it, like I said, might do one more video tomorrow, building a blinker board. If I do, you'll see me then. I'll flap my gums for an hour or so. If I don't, have a great new year. And let me see, can you see it? Not really, it's down. I'm going to go one more time on the droid cam to show what starts on January 1st. January 1st, I will start working on that beast. It's the 200 scale Titanic. Lots of aftermarket parts. I can work on it. I've got aftermarket parts that are still coming, some that I got to still order. But this is probably going to be a 12-month build at least. Looking forward to it. Not going to start it until January 1st. When I do start it, I'm going to do videos on almost everything I do, probably not like we were talking about on HLI yesterday. We were talking about drilling, wrong camera, drilling out the holes, the portholes. I counted yesterday, did a rough count. There's about 520 holes on each side that need to be drilled out. And I will be drilling each and every one of them out because I've done it before. I have a 1/350 scale Titanic that I lit. This one is going to be better lit. It's got floor details. It's got all kinds of stuff. So, like I said, I'm going to call this a wrap. Hope you have a wonderful evening, day, whatever it is for you. And may 2020 or 2021 be much better than 2020 was for all of us. Have a great one, folks. I'll see you next time.